Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Candidates Night, one of the most enjoyable times of the year for us political junkies. Tonight, we have a variety of different candidates for a bunch of different offices, and very excited to have everyone on board tonight. Some people have sent their apologies and they can't make it. Tonight, joined by Chairperson Karen Spiewak, who's going to be our official timekeeper. Incredibly excited to have that happen. I wanted a cowbell. She refuses, and she's gone to much more modern technology. And our very gracious moderator for the evening, our top moderator, Noreen Johnson-Smith, will be basically running the show for all of us. Again, special thanks to Noreen. Again, very excited to have her in her inaugural role as the moderator. So basically, I'm just going to turn it over to Noreen now for some instructions, and then we're going to get into it. So again, actually, one final just personal note. I want to thank all the candidates who are here tonight. As you know, a lot of us have run for office before. It's very daunting to actually get on TV and talk around what makes you different than somebody else without trying to sound incredibly arrogant. So really want to thank all the candidates for putting their name out on the ballot and joining tonight. So just remember, be nice, everybody. So Noreen, you are in charge. Feel free.
Thank you very much, Bill. And thank you so much for being the Zoom master for this event and keeping us on track and allowing people into the meeting and making sure that the candidates are heard. I also want to thank Karen Spiewak, our select woman, who has agreed to be the timekeeper for tonight. Thank you very much, Karen. It's a thankless job, but you know, someone's got to do it. So we have a terrific show of candidates this evening. So there are 14 races on the town ballot, and of those, only 3 are contested. But we have candidates for all but one. So I'll just advertise the vacancy now for a write-in candidate for Water and Sewer Commission. So if this is something you've always wanted to do, there is still an opening on the ballot, and we do appreciate everyone who agrees to serve the town and to donate your personal time to give what you can back to the community that we all love. So thank you all of the candidates for being here tonight. We're going to follow a very similar format to what has been done in years past. Not a lot of gotcha type questions, not a lot of surprises. We're going to keep it friendly, and just to let everyone know, this is not a debate format. This is an opportunity for the citizens of the town to get to meet the candidates for office, to hear from them directly about their views, and to learn a little more about you before they make an informed decision at the polls. So we will be taking questions, and I have received several questions from town residents prior to this event. So I will also make sure I try to include those. If there are individuals on the Zoom call who would like to pose a question, you can put your question in the chat. I will only consider questions from town residents. So if you are going to pose a question, please put your name and address in the chat box along with your question so that we can determine that these are town voters who are participating. And with all of that said, I'll introduce the candidates this evening who are on your official ballot. And again, for those of you who would like to vote early, you can download a vote by mail application on the town clerk website. It's very simple to complete, and it allows you to do mail-in voting if you're concerned about coming out in public at this time. The ballot is also available for your viewing on the town clerk website. And we have in the following order on the ballot, 2 candidates for 1 selectman seat. This is a contested seat between Scott Allen Neary and Barbara M. Zarowski. We have 1 additional candidate for selectman in an uncontested seat, and that's the incumbent David M. Singer. There's 1 candidate for a 3-year term as an assessor, Brett Moore. There is a candidate for cemetery commissioner, Willis S. Bond, Jr. There is a candidate for water and sewer commissioner, Russell George Jennings. A candidate for planning board, William T. Fontaine. Candidate for recreation commissioner, Diane E. Doherty. There's a contested race for the Board of Health. 2 candidates for 1 seat. That includes Kathleen Walker, who's the incumbent, and Peter J. Lancet II. There are 2 candidates for 2 positions as library trustee. So that's not contested, but instead two individuals running for two different seats, Francis M. Mower and Stefan D. Sage. For Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee, we have one candidate, Jean Renaud Costello, running for one seat. And for the other seat for Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee, we have one candidate, Jordan Willow Evans. We also have one candidate for South Worcester County Regional Vocational School District Committee, which is the Bay Path School Committee. That's Donald J. Montville. And two candidates in a contested race for Housing Authority. The incumbent Cedric S. Flower and challenger Susan F. Mix. So we will start with the uncontested races, and I will call on individual candidates for office to provide a 3-minute and no more than 3-minute opening statement. This is a chance to tell the voters about yourself, why you're running for office, and why you feel we should vote for you. So I'm going to start. Bill, you'll have to let me know if we have these folks on the line or not, because I can't see the participants, unfortunately.
Sure thing. So if you want to give me the first couple names, hopefully we can figure it out.
Thank you very much. We're going to start with Brett Moore for assessor. I am not sure if he's was able to join us tonight or not.
I do not see Brett's name. Brett, if you are there, do me a favor, chat with me or text me.
Thank you. And I'm actually going to kind of tick off people who I believe I have not heard from. Willis S. Bond Jr. for Cemetery Commissioner. I don't know if Willis is with us tonight.
Don't believe so.
Okay. Russell Jennings for Water and Sewer Commissioner offered his regrets.
Mm-hmm.
If he happens to have come this evening, if there was a change in plans, let us know. And Planning Board, William Fontaine. I'm not sure if William is with us or not.
Don't see Bill's name.
So I'm not going to return to those slots unless the individuals who are joining us identify that they are on the call.
Unknown caller.
And I'm getting
Sure.
some phone calls. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. Cedric, we can't see your video until I put you in as a panelist. So once your time is up, or once your opportunity is there, then we should be able to see you.
So I'm going to start with Recreation Commissioner Diane Doherty.
Okay.
Diane, you'll have 3 minutes, and Karen will be your timekeeper.
All right. Bear with me, because I just saw Diane and no, I can't. Diane, are you still on the line?
She was here.
Yeah.
Might be a little Zoom challenge here.
I know I had to move her from a presenter to that. We may want to come back to Diane.
Okay, I think we're going to have to move people into panelist mode to be able to hear them.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her in right now. Give me a minute on Diane.
Thank
Andrew,
you.
Andrew, do you see Diane's name or am I just missing it?
No, she just sent me a message to try to get the link directly to her phone, so I have to just try to get back to her.
14 months of Zoom and we're still
I know, right?
trying to
Seriously.
hear each other.
Government in action right here, everybody. Cedric, we can't hear you yet, but we will in a little while, once we promote you to panelist.
Thank you to all the participants for your patience.
Noreen, as always, you're doing a wonderful job under crazy circumstances.
Well, thank you, Bill. We need interlude music is what we need right now, but I don't have any to offer.
I might play some Dropkick Murphys if you want.
Thank you. My husband very kindly arrived with chicken pot pie, so.
Oh, you like that? Wait a minute. He's not up for election this year. What's he sucking up for?
Right. Andrew, how are we doing?
See, you guys were ready to make fun of me.
So I may be able to, I may try with another candidate and see if we can't get this mixing. Because I
Yeah.
no longer see Diane on my list. So,
Mhm.
all right, I'm gonna move on to Jean Costello, who is running for Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee. And Jean, are you here with us?
I just promoted.
I think you're muted, Jean, if you can unmute.
There we go.
There
Thanks,
you
Jean.
are, wonderful.
The whole
Thank you
time
for
I'm going,
joining
just don't let me be first.
us. Sorry.
It's fine.
Well,
All right. So let's see. So I grew up in Charlton, and I went through Dudley Charlton Regional School District, and I've been back in Charlton for the past 3 years, and watching the Zooms and being a part of the town again. I really wanted to run for school committee last year, and then this year it made more sense for me to do so, and I'm really excited to do so because I really think it does bring in a blend of, yeah, I am also a parent. I have 4 kids at DCRSD, but I'm also a professional that works with, other stakeholders and collaborators, like with DDS, DMH, other schools, other children, especially children that are labeled as high risk. And so I really wanted to kind of bring all that in and kind of put my money where my mouth is, and be a part of the community, and to really try for more effective action as well for the town and for the students and the children in the town, especially with the losses that have happened due to COVID with the pandemic. And I like being really short when I talk, so I'm pretty much done for my intro.
okay, thank you, Jean. So Jean is running unopposed for a seat on the Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee, and Jean will come back to you in a little bit with questions for school committee members. All right, next on the list, can we try to circle back to Diane Doherty now? Diane, are you with us?
I still don't see Diane's name, Noreen.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are,
I
Diane.
hear you,
Perfect.
yes. Yeah,
I'm having trouble with the picture. I don't know if you can see me. I'm sorry. Having technical difficulties.
that's okay. Please,
Can you see
please
me or
proceed.
no?
We can't see you unfortunately, but we can hear you beautifully.
Okay, thank you. My grandson's here trying to help me. Don't touch nothing. Okay, all right. All right, hello, everybody. Sorry about that. I am Diane Doherty, and I am running for the seat on the Charlton Recreation Commission. I'm a resident of this town for the past 25 years. I'm married to my husband, Philip, for 45 years. I raised 4 children and currently raising our grandson, age 15, all of whom are active in sports and recreation at some point in their lives. Right now, I'm currently employed as a substitute for the Charlton Dudley Regional School District, although I haven't been working because of COVID. Previously, I worked as a cafeteria monitor for many years at Heritage School. My political experience started in 1997 as an alternate to the planning board. I was elected in 98, serving till 2001 as a member, vice chair, and chair. I was involved in the original master plan in 2000. I've served on the board of directors at Cape and Hill Nature Sanctuary, Second Chance Animal Shelter, and I currently volunteer for the People of Animal League in Spencer as a foster and adoption coordinator. My focus these past 3 years has been working with the Charlton Recreation Commission as chairperson for the last 2 years. I've also worked with Charlton Rec Friends. I am currently the treasurer of Charlton Rec Friends. And the reason I was on that Charlton Rec Friends prior was to help get the skate park built. Now that that's built, attending to all the projects in town My goal is to focus on and ensure the town citizen voices will be heard and their needs are met. I'm very available by telephone and email. And I'm hoping that people will consider voting for me, even though I'm running unopposed. And I guess that's about it.
Great. Thank you very much, Diane.
Okay,
Again, Diane is running for Recreation Commissioner, and we'll come back to you with questions. Next, Library Trustee Francis Mower.
Did that work? Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Hello. I'm Francis Mower. That's what's on the ballot, but please call me Fran if you, so I don't want to confuse you by that since it's on the ballot with my full name. My husband and I moved out here to Charlton to retire at the Overlook in independent living, and we've been here almost 8 years. And I wanted to I've always been involved in volunteer activities, and I was looking for something to do in Charlton to become part of the community when someone told me that there was a library board person who had moved away, so there was a vacancy on the library board, and I applied and was appointed, and I've now been elected. This would be my third full term, and I still think I have a lot to offer. I've had a background in business, banking, I have accounting. I worked for nonprofits, and the last couple of jobs I had were in the for-profit world. One was with a software company, and one was an R&D company. So I have a lot of strange experience. I can certainly look at a balance sheet and see what's going on. So I have been on some volunteer boards, and I was on the State League of Women Voters board in Connecticut, and I was more recently on the board for the Open Pantry of Lowell. And so I understand a lot about how things function, and I feel like I can still add to the conversation at the trustees meetings, the understanding what's going on. And so I am happy to do this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fran. Appreciate it and appreciate your commitment to continuing in this role. Also running for library trustee for a second seat is Stefan Sage. Mr. Sage.
Noreen, I'm going to try to promote Stefan to panelist along with everyone when they're speaking, so that so we can see their video. So just bear with me 1 second.
Thank you very much.
Stefan, bear with me. You should be there in a sec. All right, Stefan, you should be unmuted, and if you want to just start a video, I believe you have the option now.
Okay, hang on a sec. There we go.
All right, good evening.
My name is Stefan Sage, and I've been a resident of Charlton for about 40 years. I am married. I've been married about 32 years to my wife, Nancy. Nancy was a middle school science teacher in Dudley for many years. I have a daughter, Christina, who is a junior currently at the University of Rhode Island, went through the Dudley Charlton Regional School District also. I first became interested in libraries, believe it or not. It was either 5th or 6th grade when I started working in our elementary school library, shelving books and helping check out books. And what inspired me was the librarian. Believe it or not, her name was Mrs. Booker, which was phenomenal. I continued my work in libraries when I moved to a new school in the junior high. And we were fortunate one year working out of a double classroom to being able to move into and renovate the old cafeteria when a new cafeteria was built. And Mr. Taramina allowed me to help lay out and design the library. And then I continued working in high school as well. I even thought about becoming a librarian, but chose to be a school teacher instead. I have been a trustee for 19 years, and I worked through the process of the renovation and expansion of the Charlton Public Library to what it is today. I helped manage the financial aspects of it, and I am proud to say that although we differed in the total amount between the town accountant and me of what we spent, we were only off by 10 cents. We did not bother to look for it. It's been a pleasure working in the library as a trustee and helping to expand and explore all the new things that libraries offer. It's not just a place to take out books. It's a community-wide center that is used by all kinds of groups, provides all kinds of services, and it just is such an exciting thing. And this is going to be an absolutely incredible new year for us. It's pivotal in the fact that our current library director, Cheryl Hansen, is retiring in October, and our main job will be finding a new director for the Charlton Public Library that's as fantastic as she is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I'm a big fan of the library too, so it's a great resource in town. Next, is Jordan Willow Evans on the line yet for the Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee, the second seat? She may be joining a little later this evening, so I'm going to hold off.
Yeah, I don't see her yet, Noreen.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we have two candidates for Housing Authority who are running opposed. We have Cedric Flower. We'll start with the incumbent. Mr. Flower.
I just promoted Cedric, so if you can hear me. There we go. All right, Cedric's coming in as a panelist. Cedric, you're still on mute and your video is not on. Oh, okay, Cedric, now we can see you, but we can't hear you.
Hello, hello.
Perfect. Well done.
Hello, hello. Everybody see me?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, folks. I'm Cedric Flower, and I'm running for re-election to the Charlton Housing Authority Board of Trustees. We are a state-regulated and subsidized elderly and low-income family housing at Meadowview Drive. We have 6 family units and 30 elderly units. The Charlton Housing Authority Board of Trustees oversees and sets policy for the Housing Authority, which is administered by our appointed executive director. It's a 5-member board with four of which are elected by the town, and the 5th appointed by the governor. And before I go on, I want to thank Noreen, Bill, and Karen for facilitating tonight's candidates forum. So thanks a lot. I have been a tenant for 12 years. And as the only tenant on our board, I am able to experience and voice the tenants' needs and wishes to our board. I attend all the board meetings and vote for safety, welfare, and quality of life for all our tenants. It is essential that we have a tenant on our board. As the only candidate running for our board who is a tenant, I ask for your vote on May 12th. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Flower. And next, running as a challenger for that seat on the Housing Authority, Ms. Susan Nix. Susan?
Susan, if you're here, if you could let me know or chat with me so I can promote you. I just don't see your name.
So hopefully she's not having technical difficulties. I know she was planning to attend.
If I see her join, Noreen, I will absolutely let you know.
Thank you, Bill. We'll come back to Susan. Moving on to the contested race for one seat on the Board of Health. We have two candidates, and the incumbent we'll start with Kathleen Walker.
All right, Kathleen, give me 1 second. That's all right. And Pete, I'm gonna bring you in at the same time. And
Unmuted, right?
yes, Kathleen, Kathleen, we can hear and see you.
Go right ahead, Kathleen.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Kathleen Walker, and I'm running for the second term on the Charlton Board of Health. I'd like to start by thanking Noreen and Bill and Karen for organizing this evening. I've done the candidates night for the past 9 years, and now we have a whole new group that are running it. I am absolutely delighted about that. I'd also like to thank all the other brave candidates who have come this evening. It's never easy to speak in public. And I want to also thank them for signing up for public service. It's the only way to ensure that this town can thrive and prosper. So my husband and I, Mike Lally, moved to Charlton 27 years ago and quickly became involved in the library building committee. We also got involved in creating a household hazardous waste day, and this continued until we signed a contract with Casella. I served on the Charlton Select Board for 12 years and was able to work with the DEP and town officials to resolve the MTBE contamination from 6W on the Mass Pike and get remuneration from ExxonMobil. When it appeared that the Water Sewer Commission was going too slowly in working out an agreement for water with Southbridge and getting bottled water to all the affected residents, I helped establish the Water Study Committee. We were then able to encourage the resolution of the contamination problems and move the process along. However, a few years ago, more contamination was discovered in wells not far from 6W in the north of the town. Our Board of Health was able to bring DEP in again to find the source, and this past fall, Exxon began a study, followed by a PIP, Public Involvement Plan, in March. This is going to be followed up by our board and DEP when Exxon is scheduled to come back to us with some answers on a very elaborate study that they've organized, and they should be back to us in June. I was also able to start the recycling committee in 2004, which continues today. When Casella began charging to drop off hazardous waste, we worked with the Board of Health, well, I'm on both committees, to create free vouchers for residents to use on the Household Hazardous Waste Day, which happens now 4 times a year. The next one's the last Saturday in June. While on the recycling committee, I became aware that the schools were not recycling. After meeting with the treasurer of the Dudley Charlton Regional School District, I offered to research local haulers and develop a spreadsheet of costs. This resulted in a $25,000 a year savings to the school, and they contracted out with one vendor who also provided recycling through the system. 10 seconds, wow. There's Earth Festival, there's the Charlton Sustainability Committee, there's Fay Mountain Farm, Chair of Old Home Day, my favorite, Shipping Board of Directors, and the Earth Day Commission, and I better stop.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. Kathleen is being challenged by Peter Lancet. Peter?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thank you to the board for organizing this, and thank you to the Charlton residents for taking the opportunity to get to know the candidates. My name is, as stated, my name is Peter Lancet, and I'm running for the Board of Health. I moved to Charlton with my wife in 2006. We have 2 children, Juliana and Andrew, who are both students in Charlton. A little bit about my past, or a little my experience in education. I do have a master in science and nursing, a master in business administration, and I do hold a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt certification. Primarily, my professional experience has been based out of UMass, where I've served as staff nurse and progressed into leadership roles, manager, director, associate chief nursing officer, and currently associate vice president. I've also served in the military and the Army Reserves, retired in 2019 after 26 years of service. I have multiple combat deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan. After my last deployment to Afghanistan, or during that deployment, I was awarded the Bronze Star for actions during combat operations. As part of my retirement, I was awarded the Meritorious Service Medal for actions during my time as commander and chief nurse in the Army Reserves. I have served in both enlisted and commissioned capacity, so I understand both sides of those houses. The main reason I'm running for Board of Health at this time is related to the pandemic. You know, we're in the midst of the pandemic. It's not over by any chance, and I don't want to instill fear in everybody, but I want us to respect the virus and develop a new state of normalcy. During the pandemic, I served in the command center at UMass at the initial onset, and then was selected to stand up the DCU Field Hospital for the first and second iteration. We did care for almost 1,000 patients during that time, and one of my proudest moments of that time there was that none of our staff became contaminated or infected with the COVID-19 virus as a direct result of working in the DCU center. So it is possible to have workflows and processes to protect people and restore a state of normalcy. So in closing, I do want to, work with the Board of Health and collaborate with the other boards and committees to ensure that our children have the opportunity for a state of normalcy. This past year for them has been truly trying. My daughter as a freshman, my son as a 7th grader, we need to get them back in school and allow them to be children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go back to the Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee. Jordan Willow Evans has joined us. Jordan?
Actually, bear with me 1 second on that.
No problem.
Move you over to a panelist.
Let me just see if I can.
Yeah, John, we can hear and see you, so thank you.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, before I begin, I'd like to thank our gracious hosts for tonight. Like so many, let me adjust this camera. Like so many other municipalities, it can be rare for Charlton to see multiple contested races on the ballot, and thus incredibly important that the voters have an opportunity to learn more about their candidates ahead of Election Day. So thank you. My name is Jordan Willow Evans, and I'm a longtime Charlton resident, former student of Dudley Charlton Regional School District, and a current member of the school committee. I'm an advocate for inclusion with a strong personal sense of commitment to civil rights. I'm also a graduate of Worcester State University, where I received my degree in history while minoring in secondary education. I've had the honor of serving you as one of your school committee representatives since last June, and since being elected, have taken committee assignments with the Equity Committee, Policy Subcommittee, and Executive Minutes Review Subcommittee. Alongside that, some of you may know me from my work as one of our town constables and as vice chair of the trustees of the Charlton Public Library. Lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Charlton Cultural Council, which is one of my longest serving community involvements and something that's mission is deeply close to my heart. As an advocate, I've had the privilege of working with nonprofit groups, educational organizations, and government bodies at all levels to bring awareness to issues impacting communities that exist at the margin. My professional day job is as a case manager with the Seven Hills Family Services in neighboring Sturbridge, where I've helped to support individuals in the disability community. Additionally, I sit on the board of directors for Mass Equality, where I work to ensure that everyone across Massachusetts can thrive from cradle to grave without oppression based on their sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. I've also had the extreme fortune of being involved with efforts to brief the United States Department of Education on national student policy relating to trans student safety and privacy. I'd like to think that in everything that I've done to this point, I leave behind a small piece of Charlton in my work and the life lessons that I've learned while growing up in our shared community. I implore you to visit my campaign website to learn more at www.jordanwevans.com or follow my page on Facebook. It has been a pleasure to speak with you all, and I humbly ask for your support on May 1st.
Thank you very much, Jordan. For selectmen, we have one seat that's unopposed with an incumbent candidate, David Singer. So David, would you like to go next?
David, you should be coming up now.
Hey, I just got promoted. Thank you, Karen, Bill, Noreen. I'm David Singer. I'm running for re-election for the Charlton Board of Selectmen. Many of you may not know, before becoming a selectman, I was the town moderator and then became a member of this board. It's an honor and a privilege to serve. I'd like to express my gratitude and thanks to the people of Charlton for putting their faith and trust in me. And I'm looking forward to continuing to serve. And I hope that even though I am unopposed, that you will take the time to color my circle. Every vote does count. Over the years, I have been blessed to be a part of many achievements, not the least of which was bringing clean water to homes contaminated with MBTE, and even hanging the POW-MIA flag in front of Town Hall, which amazed me. It had been flying prior. Some may consider that a small victory, but to me, they're all large victories. Looking ahead, there's still a lot more to be done. We can finally, I believe, see the light at the end of the tunnel for Charlton's water independence. I've asked the town administrator, Andrew Golis, to please pull together a list of fees that are under the auspices of the Board of Selectmen so that we can take a good look at what my hope are anyway, either eliminating or reducing fees for the coming year, at least temporarily, to try and alleviate the burden on our residents and our businesses who have suffered, in many cases, either a reduction or a loss of income. And I think this can help, again, alleviate the burden. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I'm looking forward to hopefully continuing to serve. Madam Moderator, if I do have any time left, I would gladly yield that to the other candidates running for the Board of Selectmen so they have extra time. And again, thank you to everyone for continuing to put your faith and trust in me, and I will always work hard to hopefully continue and to deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Everybody still gets 3 minutes, but nice try. I'm pleased to welcome the two candidates who are running for one seat on the Board of Selectmen, and we'll start with Mr. Scott Neary. Oops, Scott, we've got you muted.
How about that? Is that working now?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Noreen. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Neary, and I'm running for the Board of Selectmen seat being vacated by Karen Spiewak. I'd like to first take a moment to acknowledge and thank Karen for her time on the board and all she's done for Charlton. She's done a great job. Also, I'd like to thank you all for watching and taking the time to learn more about the candidates this evening. As we have learned the hard way in local government the past 5 or 6 years here in Charlton, it's extremely important that we know and trust those who we grant this responsibility to. I am a husband to Julie, whose family has been in Charlton for 3 generations, and together we are parents to a 7th grader, Gianna, who attends Charlton Middle School. It seems everyone wants to ask me why run, and this gets asked almost daily to me. For me, but the answer is pretty easy. Charlton has been my home now for 5 years, and will be my family's home forever. If I can use my experience to help in any way in keeping our property taxes affordable, providing the services the town not only needs but asks for, I feel it's my duty to at least try. The coming years, this town, excuse me, our town has several very important decisions ahead of it. As I stated earlier, we must have people we know and trust in these positions. I have attended Babson College. I have owned and operated several very successful businesses in my professional career. Currently, I'm the district manager for Buffalo Wild Wings here in Massachusetts for almost 11 years now. And in that role, I'm in charge of all operations for 5 locations, including a full profit and loss responsibility, over $30 million in revenue. I also act as a government liaison for our stores to all towns our restaurants are currently located in. I think this gives me a unique perspective as to how different boards around the state run as well. I grew up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire as a 4th generation Portsmouth native. The Portsmouth I grew up in is all but gone. Overdevelopment and influx of out-of-state residents and the like have all but erased the charm that town once had. Now, I tell you this because I feel it's important to not let that happen to Charlton. Would I like to see more businesses move to town? Absolutely, 100%. But as long as they are a fit to the current makeup and the character of Charlton, that to me is very, very important. From the moment I came to town, I have involved myself with this community. In the first month, I attended a PTO meeting, which led to my involvement in several fundraising events. A month or two later, I attended a board meeting for Charlton Youth Basketball, where I volunteered to coach, and before I knew it, I had a board seat there as well. Between basketball and softball, I coach kids in this town 12 months a year, and nothing makes me happier. Lastly, the safety and well-being of our children, seniors, and citizens in Charlton should be at the forefront of decisions we make as a town. Our police and fire departments have terrific reputations around central Massachusetts. Well-deserved, I think. And if elected, I can tell you I will work my hardest to ensure that that reputation grows even stronger. I look forward to interacting with as many of you as I can before the election and hopefully afterwards as part of the Board of Selectmen. It would be my honor to represent you in this town of ours. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Scott. All right, Barbara Zarowski. Oh, Barbara, you're muted.
Good afternoon. I'm Barbara Zarowski, and I'm running for the open seat on the Board of Selectmen. First and foremost, I want to thank very much everybody who signed my nomination papers. Guys, it's too late to take it out. I want to thank everyone who's helping me throughout the process. You know who you are. I truly appreciate it. Thank you to my family, my friends, my coworkers, and every single Charlton resident for giving me the time and consideration. Thank you. I appreciate it all more than you know. Quickly about myself, I was born and raised in Poland. I moved here in 1994. I learned English, still work in progress. While working and raising my family, I put myself through school. I graduated from Worcester State College in degree in economics, minor in political science and mathematics. Then later in life, I put myself through law school. I graduated with Juris Doctor degree from Mass School of Law. I am in the insurance field for over 20 years. I deal with the risks assessments and the contracts on a daily basis. I do take care of the commercial clients for the agency, including the schools, businesses, YMCA, bigger accounts. I am a mother of 3 wonderful kids. The 2 are here, future generation. My older daughter, Natalia, 24, she went through Shepherd Hill, Dudley school system, Dudley Charlton school system. Now she graduated from Holy Cross, and now it's almost done with her master's degree in graduate school. Nina is a Shepherd Hill junior. She is in sports. She's a varsity volleyball for Rams, go Rams. She's a National Honor Society student, and she has her own Charlton TV show, which we're all very proud of. Alec is a 12-year-old middle schooler. He's on Rams team for football, Charlton, since he was 5. Now he's 12, over 7 years. Go Rams. My husband owns the construction business, so he's all about supporting local businesses for over 20 years. We moved to Charlton in October, but so we're young here, but we're not young to all the issues that Charlton is facing. Dudley is a close by town. And I was involved closely with everything that was going on in that town. Like I said, my kids are here at school, all of them sports. I joined the RICE board. I do believe helping out the seniors, bringing up the energy, cooling and heating is hugely important. My mom is here, she's a senior. So I did join that board. For many years, I was involved in Dudley's Women Club, the organization, the charity organization that helps Charlton and Dudley women, the women in need. I was on a board in town in Dudley, on a Dudley Economic Development Committee. We did a lot of good things. So I do have some experience with that over 9 years. I have opened up the BNI business referral group that supports local businesses. Why am I running for selectman seat is because there are lots of things that this town needs. This is my home. I'm staying. My kids are growing up here. I do believe that there would be more issues to come to this town. Progress is here and it's not going anywhere. So it's just all about having the right people to control that progress. Thank you, guys. I hope I have your vote. Thank you so much. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we've covered all of the candidates' introductory statements, and actually we're right on time, with where we had hoped to be. Now we're going to open it up to questions. If any, before I do that, if any of the candidates for office who did not provide an introduction have joined the meeting and have not yet been identified, please put your name in the chat so that Bill Borowski can include you, and we can make sure that we're opening, giving you an opportunity for an opening statement. But in the absence of that, we're going to move forward. First, we'll start, as promised, with the uncontested seats, and just a couple of questions for people to respond to, starting with the Recreation Commission, and then we'll pick up the library trustees. So first, Recreation Commission, Diane Doherty is our candidate. And Diane, Bill, are you able to bring up Diane?
Yep, she should be coming up now.
Okay, terrific.
Famous last words.
So Diane, the question here for you is, what is the most important issue facing the Recreation Commission in the coming year, and how would you like to see it addressed?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. The most important issue that we have been working on steadily is currently it's the American Disabilities Act compliance, bringing Maynard Field up to date and getting the facilities and parking lot done and completed. These have been continuing upgrades that we've been working on steadily for the last few years. And the upgrades will include a new snack shack, a wheelchair accessible ramp to view the games, and make the snack shack wheelchair accessible area as well. We're going to resurface the parking lot, linking it to the football field. And we're hoping and praying that it will be done by the fall of 2021 or spring of 2022.
Okay, thank
So
you.
that's one of the main projects right now.
I appreciate that. And just a second question. What do you feel is the most important recreational service available to the citizens of Charlton? You mentioned the football field. Are there others?
Well, we have a fantastic bunch of league volunteers. They're very, I can't say enough about the volunteers that work with us. Softball, baseball, soccer, and we have people now that we're doing lacrosse. And we also have flag football joining us this year, new. And every single person that we've had the conversations with have been so helpful and so cooperative, scheduling the fields, working together, letting us know if there's any issues. And we work closely with the town highway department as well. Jerry Foskett and his crew with the landscape company, and they have been outstanding as well, servicing the needs that as we see them, and hoping with COVID, we'll be able to get the kids back on the fields and have them have an enjoyable summer and fall.
Great. Thank you very much, Diane.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
And we're going to move on now to library trustees for a couple of questions. So we have Fran and Stefan, who are running for 2 seats, not opposed. And Bill, if you can bring up our 2 candidates for library trustee.
Should be coming up now, Noreen.
Thank you. And after this, we'll move on to the Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee. All right, Fran and Stefan. Let's start with who's first on the ballot here. Actually, it's alphabetical. So Fran, you get to kick us off.
There we go. I finally got my picture on here.
Wonderful. Great to see you. So we have a question for you, and if you can keep your answers, everyone, to 2 minutes on the Q&A section, that would be great. So Fran, what do you feel is the most important issue facing the town library in the coming year, and how would you like to see it addressed?
I would have to agree with what Stefan said in his introduction, that the most important issue is going to be finding a new director who is of the qualifications that we are used to with our super wonderful director. And that's going to take a lot of time and effort on everybody's part.
Thank you. And Stefan, would you like to add another issue, or are you're sticking with the hiring of a new director, which is very important?
The new director is incredibly important, but one other aspect that has been with us for the last year has been the issue of how we deal with COVID. And I think the Charlton Library is well stated at this point, or well suited for how we're dealing with this. As a matter of fact, when we compared our numbers of materials that were taken out this last month of March, we didn't compare it to last March since we were closed for most of it, but the year before, we are actually circulating more materials this month than we did 2 years ago, which says the library is doing a phenomenal job in keeping our services there. We've modified it. There's been a lot of thought in it. It's been brought to the attention of the trustees from our library director, and we have all agreed that with the way she's handling it. But we need to continue that process until we are free and clear of COVID. Hopefully the new director will be able to handle these kind of issues as well as Cheryl has.
Thank you. And Stefan, we'll start with you for just the second question. What do you feel is the most important service that the public library offers to the town? And then Fran will ask you the same.
Well, when I first started being connected with libraries checked out books. And that was pretty much it. And then we returned books. And if you look at the services that the library provides to the citizens of Charlton and to surrounding citizens of different communities, because our library is open to all of them. We have language courses, we have streaming music, we have streaming videos, we have books that you can download onto your own material. I've never done that because I like having that hard copy in front of me. But we also have materials that you can check out, such as ukuleles and sewing machines and crock pots. It's just such a different world of a library today than it was before. Plus, we also provide areas in our library where groups can meet. And we're looking forward to, at some point, allowing that to happen again when it becomes safe. But to see the library as a full community-wide location for all kinds of things to happen is just amazing.
Thank you. And Fran?
I second what Stefan said, and one of the other really nice things that we have available for people is a telescope, a very nice telescope that was donated for the library to be able to check out and use. I think that the biggest challenge, and this would not just be for the library, it's going to be for the new director, is to keep up with the technology. And we have computers for individual use in the library. We have study rooms that are used for the students who need them, and trying to just keep up with that. And the e-readers and things like that. It's just unbelievable how well we have kept up with that. And I think that makes us a very good library.
Thank you very much. Thank you both. And what a wonderful advertisement for the Charlton Public Library tonight. I have to say I scared my family when I threatened to come home with the ukulele after I saw them displayed. It's a great idea. So thank you both.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. So we're going to move on to the Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee, where we have 2 open seats and 2 candidates. So Jean Costello and Jordan Willow Evans. And Bill's bringing them up. Thank you very much. That was very efficient, Bill. We're getting good at this. Okay, so starting with Jean, What do you feel is the most important issue facing the school committee in the coming year? And how would you like to see it addressed?
I think the most important issue coming to this year is actually the mental health of the students coming back in. You know, they've had that full year. I mean, where we as adults can really look back and go and recognize that it's a year, it's 2 years, things will get better, pandemics do end, you know. But as for our students, you know, they don't have that background to look at. And it's also been with all of their routines thrown out the window, that the school was also a safe place. It gave them that structure, that ability to have a community, to be with others. It's something that is sorely missed through a lot of aspects of remote or hybrid learning. A lot of kids did fall through the cracks. And I think it's something that moving forward, we really need to take a look at for the students, for the children of the community, and that we would have to work more with, you know, the resources that we currently have, but would also have to look into ensuring that our teachers at least have those professional development days to learn more about how to spot mental health trauma in our students and to help facilitate them getting the care that they need and have the access to do so.
Thank you. And Jordan, same question for you. What's the most important issue facing the school committee in the coming year, and how would you like to see it addressed?
Well, I anticipate that we're going to have a number of important issues on our agenda moving forward, including the budget, transportation costs, among many other things. But I completely agree with Jean that we're going to have to take into consideration the mental health needs of students. The social emotional growth and mental wellness of our students has always been critical, even as we attempt to return to whatever you want to call this sense of normalcy. In my time on the board, I've seen the conversation occasionally take a turn where the topic has been framed as one of mental health versus physical health. And to me, the two are one and the same. I believe that we must treat every student as an individual in every situation with a sense of flexibility and patience. Students right now are returning to school from a significant life experience that many people listening tonight could have never predicted. And it's important that we do our best to prepare for these pre-crisis indicators as they arise. In the face of what we know to be happening, the rising prevalence of depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and SI, as well as an overall drain in the academic stamina of our students to return to school. I mean, they've been out of school for so long, and now they're being put back into this situation where they're in full days. And it's difficult for some students to kind of readjust to that. So to me, we as a board must be prepared to hire adjustment counselors and other staff with a background in mental health to supplement what we currently have in place. Moving forward, this is going to be very important because even when we have a firm grasp over the pandemic situation, the impact of what this has done is going to be long felt after. So I'm happy to hear that we're both kind of focusing on this as an important issue, because I really do think that we're not out of the woods yet with this.
Okay, great. Thank you. We have two questions that were submitted by residents. So I'm going to skip right to those. First, some have stated that the Dudley Charlton Regional School System budget is a drain on the taxpayers of Charlton, despite being among the lowest cost per student in the state. What is your perspective on this? And let's start with Jordan, and then we'll ask Jean to answer the same question.
Awesome, thank you. So at a Board of Selectmen meeting a few years ago, it was brought up, and it was the first time that I've ever heard someone mention the idea of deregionalization. So the topic that our school district costs a lot of money has always been prevalent and reoccurring. So this notion that it costs so much money to run our school really couldn't be further from the truth. And I implore anyone who has concerns about what we're doing to look at records released from DESE and the the state DOE, just to see how our students place per what we invest in them. Right now, compared to our surrounding schools in Leicester, in Sturbridge, in Auburn, in Oxford, the cost of an education in Dudley and Charlton is far lower. And yet, in that same vein, our students are in almost every category of their MCAS testing exceeding the Commonwealth standards. So yes, I know that Charlton does tend to really dislike the idea of tax increases and things like that. And I concur, I'm one such person. But when you look at how efficient we've been handling our budget to the degree and quality of education that we've been offering these students, we do an exceptional job. So I just want people in the community to be aware of what we've accomplished with what we have.
Thank you, Jordan. Jean, same question. Do you want me to repeat it or are you all set?
No, I'm all set. Again, Jordan and I are on the same page. So, because I also looked through the DESE websites and for the budgets of what we have done in the past, and for this year has been very interesting, as we all know, with the state not having a final budget for so long. And I do appreciate what residents in Charlton and Dudley have both said about how they feel it costs, how the cost is a bit of a burden. I know I have the same conversations with my parents who talk about it a lot, but Dudley Charlton has always been very good about how they utilize their resources in a lot of aspects, and asking for, and I know it is a bit of a sticking point in asking for that 2.8%. It's not an unreasonable amount, and that it would be put forth in a way that would help to mitigate and the prospective outcome right now with children who are affected by the pandemic in the schools is that there's already been studies stating that with this current loss in education and time, that their projected income is decreased at a conservative estimate of 10 to 15%, for what they will be able to have for gross income. I think the amount of money that has been asked and how that has been used is just a small portion for the actual investment in return that we receive for our students and also for our community.
Thank you. Thank you both. We have one final question for our candidates for the Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee. And that was sent in during the meeting from a town resident who asks, do you think any of the teaching tools used during COVID-19 would be beneficial to use on an ongoing basis after COVID? And Jean, would you like to start?
Sure. Yes, I actually do. Unfortunately, my children are not Zoom learners or Google Meet learners, but for those where it is effective, I mean, especially for students that have anxiety issues or have been victims of bullying, having that opportunity to use and reach their education through their computer and being able to make those ties, so many really did make great advancements with the new technology. And I really think that is something that we're all going to have to look at, not just the school, I mean, everywhere in town. I mean, look at us right now, we're on this wonderful Zoom, so it's really something that we really do have to take a look at and make it available as much as we can.
Thank you. And Jordan, same question. Are there tools that we can take away from COVID-19 and continue in the schools you think would be useful?
Oh, absolutely. The first time that I ran for school committee, something that I really wanted to see our district invest into is new technologies, ways to be cutting edge in how we approach education, ways to make the ability to teach more effective and efficient for our teachers and more accessible for our students. If there's anything good to come out of this terrible, terrible pandemic, it is some of the ways that we've found to make education accessible for our students while they're at home. And what I would really like to see as we have our students return back to school are some of those things retained, because we have a sizable portion of students in the district who require extra help. They're not English as a first language students. They're members of the disability community. They may happen to live in parts of town that don't have access to certain resources that they need. We can now help them access education in a way that they should have been accessing with their peers this whole time. And I'm really appreciative that we, as not just a school district, but as governments as a whole, are now looking at this. And not just for the sake of our students and educators, but also for the community's ability to access their municipal boards, to listen to meetings, to attend our school committee meetings and hear what we have to say. If we retain Zoom, for example, which I really want us to do, we now have the ability to have people who normally wouldn't be able to make it out to our meetings, listen to them live, tune in, do what they need to play an active role in their children's education more than they could have had before, because maybe they weren't home and during the time that we had school committee meetings. So I'm very excited for what we can retain if there's anything to take from this. So.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move along now to our contested races. We have 3 races that are contested: Housing Authority, the Board of Health, and Selectmen, and we'll take them in that order. For the Housing Authority, I just want to offer, I did hear from Susan Mix, who is a candidate contesting the race against the incumbent Cedric Flower, and Ms. Mix had a personal situation this evening, so she offered her regrets that she was unable to attend and wished everyone the best. Mr. Flower, if we could bring you forward and just take one quick question for the Housing Authority, give you an opportunity to speak to this, and then we'll move along to the other 2 contested races. All right, Mr. Flower, as you are the incumbent, I'm going to go to the highly controversial question on our list tonight. Are there any Housing Authority decisions that you've disagreed with over the past year? And if so, what would you have done differently and why?
Okay, before I answer that question, just a shout out to Scott. I taught speech and drama at the Portsmouth Senior High School in the 1960s. Small world. Anything that I disagreed with the board? We have a very, very harmonious board. We have an effective team, and I can't think of anything where we seriously disagreed on decisions. Now, our budget, of course, comes from the state and is regulated by the state. So the board's function is to prioritize what needs to be done with the budget we're given. And we all agreed that the big priority was our road, Meadowview Drive, which is full of potholes and sunken sewer lines. So we went to the state and they approved and funded it. And we hope that we'll get that done this year.
All right, thank you very much. I am going to now move us along. You will have an opportunity for those running in contested seats to make a closing statement at the end of the night. So if you're still with us, Mr. Flower, we'll come back to you for a closing statement.
I'll be here.
Okay, all righty. Moving on to the Board of Health. We have our 2 candidates, Kathleen Walker and Peter Lancette. And we have a number of questions, so we'll start with Kathleen. What do you feel is the most important issue facing the Board of Health in the coming year, and how would you like to see it addressed?
Thank you, Noreen. There's no question that the most important issue is dealing with the virus and getting people vaccinated. We've had 894 cases in Charlton up through April 6th. And the number is starting to go down. We're getting more people vaccinated, but we need to get everybody vaccinated. Not only do they need to be vaccinated, but they need to keep following the guidance set down by the state to keep their distance and wear masks. The state is also offering to help us out with a program called the Ambassador Program. I listen to 2 webinars every week from the state health officials, and they're offering an ambassador program to help towns like ours get the word out to all the residents about the importance of vaccination. Everybody doesn't agree with vaccination, and we understand that, but for the sake of all of us, we all need to be vaccinated. So that's without a doubt the primary focus that I believe we're dealing with this year.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Same question. What do you feel is the most important issue facing the Board of Health in the coming year?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I also agree COVID will be our largest issue in the coming year. In the past year, I've worked very closely with the State Command Center, MEMA, and DPH, on our fight against COVID. One aspect of it is our prevention. The second aspect of it is the vaccination effort. We still need to be vigilant, though, even with the vaccine, because there are variants of the virus that are still emerging. So, as a healthcare professional, I don't see this ending anytime soon, but I do think that we need to develop some risk stratifications and structure, how our new normalcy evolves. We really need to focus our efforts on socialization, education of the community, on safe methods, so that we can return to that state of normalcy, especially for the children. They need to get back in school. We need to be able to do it safely. We need to be able to abide by social distancing, hand washing, and mask wearing. So, essentially, after 9/11, things changed. After this pandemic, things are going to change, and we need to develop that new normal. So being on the cutting edge of this and collaborating with some of our, near bordering Board of Health, we can help mitigate some of these efforts and really, take charge of the situation.
Okay, Peter, I'm going to ask you the next question and then go to Kathleen. So we'll do the reverse order. What do you feel was the greatest accomplishment of the Board of Health in the past year? And what is one thing you would have done differently that you disagree?
I think they did a really nice job with the vaccination effort and the collaboration with Harrington Hospital. So that really opened up the ability for the residents to get the vaccine. I know it was in collaboration with some of the state guidance and how they released it, but making the vaccine available is a great stance. I really don't want to Monday morning quarterback any of the Board of Health's actions for the past year, because I wasn't necessarily privy to all the information that they had at the time. And, just because of the fact that this is a pandemic and it's new uncharted waters, there's a lot of lessons learned that we learned during the past year that we need to apply going forward and move forward.
Thank you. Kathleen, same question. What do you feel was one of the greatest accomplishments of the board during the past year? And what's one thing you would have done differently, looking back?
I'm really delighted that we were able to bring Exxon to the table to deal with the possible contamination in the north of Charlton. There's a number of homes up there that are showing some evidence of contamination, and we need to address that right away. We were able to pull in the DEP, and they were kind enough, as they've been in the past, to join us and bringing Exxon to the table. we need to see what happens with their testing in June, and really encourage their taking responsibility, assuming that they do have the responsibility, which is hard not to assume considering the location. Assuming they do have the responsibility, we really need to put pressure on them to remediate that the same way they have in other parts of town, just like Casella has over on Berry Corner Road, and just like Exxon has on the other roads. So I really think that's an enormous accomplishment. But I guess the biggest thing that the staff has done is really taking care of people this year. We were out back in, I don't know, I guess it was in the early part of the pandemic in April, May, putting us up signs all over town saying, let's stick together and let's follow the guidance and wear masks and keep your distance. We put these signs, I placed a lot of them myself all over town. And just to remind people, and you know what, the townspeople have responded. They've been absolutely great. The Charlton Sewing Center created hundreds and hundreds of masks and donated them to the Board of Health, which we gave out. People have been really enormously good in following the guidance that we've set down.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It's set down.
Thank you. And finally, question for the Board of Health. What is your philosophy on the role of the board in municipal government? And Peter, can we start with you?
Thank you. Since Massachusetts has a decentralized governance structure, I think the Board of Health needs to collaborate with other Board of Health so that we can, learn from lessons learned from other boards of health in other areas. Charlton is a unique area, but we could learn some lessons from Dudley, and Dudley can learn from us. So I think having that ongoing collaboration, not only with other boards of health, but with with the boards of selectmen and other boards and committees within the town. I think we need to, reasonably risk stratify our health and environmental issues, and collaboratively come together and make reasonable decisions that protect both our environment and our health of our citizens.
Thank you. Kathleen, same question on your philosophy on the role of the Board of Health in municipal government.
I believe our role is simply to protect the health of the citizens of Charlton. And sometimes that goes against what certain people want. We had a situation early in the pandemic where some of the retailers didn't want to wear masks and didn't want to follow the guidance. And we actually ended up closing one store down for one night. He was pretty mad, but he did make sure that everybody wore the masks after that. We are in collaboration with all the other boards of health. When I was on the Burlington Board of Health many years ago for 9 years, I was part of the local, the state organization that covers all boards of health. I'm completely comfortable with seeing what other boards of health do. In fact, in Charlton, we do collaborate on a regular basis with the Dudley Board of Health, primarily because we have the same school system, but they're meeting with us on next Tuesday night at our meeting. So not only will we have our own 3 board members and our great health director, Jim Philbrook, advising us, but we'll have 3 more members from Dudley that will have their ideas and their thoughts and the things that they've come up with. So I think that's extremely important.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both. Because you're in a contested race, we'll come back to you at the end of the evening for a 2-minute closing statement, okay? All right, we're gonna move on to the Board of Selectmen race, which has 2 candidates competing for 1 seat, Scott Neary and Barbara Zarowski, and 1 candidate incumbent competing with himself for re-election. So we'll take all three candidates together for these questions so that we keep the evening moving forward. And I'll start with the contested race, and David will have you answer last on all of these questions. So you have that benefit of sweeping up the comments at the end. So first, let's start with Scott. And Scott, what do you feel is the most important issue facing the town of Charlton in the coming year? And how would you plan to address it?
Thank you, Noreen. I will tell you what, there's many important issues, and I'm trying not to cop out on an answer here, but the fact remains that depending on who you are and where you are, the issues could be more important or less. You know, the new fire station, the possibility of that coming in, the LNG facility, with that coming in, there's everything to do with the pandemic. There's just so much in front of the board for these next 3 years that for me to pick which one I think is the most important. I think they're all equally important depending on who you're talking to. The only thing I can tell you is that I will do what's best for the town, based on what I know from the town and what I know from the history of it, and to keep it the town that it is. Using my experience in trying to keep the spending down. That's the best I could say for that answer.
All right, thank you, Scott. Barbara, what do you feel is the most important issue facing the town, and how do you plan to address it in the coming year?
I agree with Scott, everything he said. There's so many different issues coming up in the pipeline. I will answer though. I did pick two, and there was the dependency on the water supply for the town, but then I will go yet again with the fire station. And why that is because there has been in the works for 15 years. And we all know that we need it. This town needs it. It must have it. The importance of it is, it is not the question for me, but the whole process of getting this approved and voted, you know, it has been a lot of questions that I raised myself. Above it all, you know, everything started with the public safety building at such and such size and at such and such expense, and then we kept cutting, and we got to the point where we just have a fire station, and that brought a worrisome to me, because the more we cut, we can't really cut. What we're doing, we reducing the cost with the size of the project. This town, even with one fire station being the way it is, not everybody's safe. So eventually, somewhere on the way, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, depending on the progress, we will need yet another building, you know, on the other part of the town. So I found that very intriguing. But regardless, the way this is presented to the public is what I think we need to be very careful about, because it does pull, you know, the debt exclusions questions and everything going on the ballot. I do want to have it done. I do want this to pass. I do want us to build this fire station. And that's, I think, right now is the most important thing for all of us, the safety of the townspeople, you know, the safety of our kids. That's all.
Thank you, Barbara. And David, your perspective as an incumbent member of the Board of Selectmen, what do you feel is the most important issue facing the town? And how do you plan to address it in the coming year?
So yeah, thank you, Noreen. So there are a lot of issues, and there's no question COVID's a big one, but I'm going to have to give the nod to water. I believe that while COVID certainly isn't going away tomorrow, we do, I believe, see the light at the end of the tunnel. Water, however, I think there are two parts we have to look at. One is the MBTE contamination. As I mentioned earlier, we've been able, thankfully, through the work of a lot of people in town, to bring clean water to affected homes, but the plume isn't gone. The MBTE contamination is still there. So that is a major issue, and I think we have to be extremely aggressive in working with the Board of Health and Exxon to continue to address that. Also, as far as water sources go, right now we are purchasing water from Southbridge. This is the other side of the water issue. I believe and have been pushing for Charlton's water independence so that we no longer have to rely on neighboring towns to purchase water. I think it would be nice for Charlton, and I think we are close to seeing that realization when Charlton can provide its own water, clean water, to our residents and our businesses.
Thank you. We have a question from a Charlton resident who has written a question to us this evening. And they are wondering for the two new candidates, and then we will also ask Mr. Singer, what are your priorities and what will you focus on accomplishing in your first term? So for our two newcomer individuals in the contested race, we'll start with Barbara for this one. So your priorities and what you hope to accomplish in the first term.
I will go back to the fire station. Absolutely, I would do all my best with all the research that I have already completed and everything that I have learned throughout all the old meetings, town board meetings, and the questions that I ask the residents. I want to do anything I possibly can to make sure this is accomplished. The second issue for me that I would like to see done, and I praise the Board of Selectmen last year's for especially Bill Borowski on the gas storage facility. This is for now asleep, but it will be coming back, and it should be treated with care, with the full care and a full understanding of the issue, with lots and lots of research that needs to go still into that project or that issue on the table. The host community agreement that everybody's trying to work on, it's crucial, and this is my lawyer head on. So many potential problems with that. I can't even begin to start talking about it in a detail, but mainly lots and lots of time needs to be put aside to research that situation in details and seek the Attorney General advice on that. Keep working on it, keep asking questions. I have read many articles about it, and none of the answers of this spokesperson for the pipeline is for the gas storage is anywhere near what needs to be answered and concluded. So I think that would be yet another issue on the table. And I want to see an answer. Yeah.
Thank you. Scott?
Hi, Noreen. Yes, I have a kind of an intermingling of the two. My two goals is because they work together. One of them is to keep our taxes down in this town. We've had there's a lot of nervousness about it, but you have to do that. When somebody says to people, keep taxes down, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't spend, right? Sometimes it's spending smartly and the best way to spend. And I think that's a very important piece of this, and how you do that and how you can continue to spend and to keep taxes down for the citizens is to bring more businesses in. Again, not all businesses. I don't want four-story hotels or around the town like I saw happen in my hometown. But I would love to be able to see services, grocery stores, or other restaurants, recreational facilities, hardware stores, things of this nature that we can bring into this town that we currently, as Charlton residents, go elsewhere for on a daily basis. If we can do that in our town, in places that are zoned for that already, our taxes, and then we can spend for the services that we do need, and to keep the taxes down in that range. Those are my two goals when coming onto the board.
All right, thank you. And David, your priority for the coming term.
Thank you. I'll give you three quick ones. One is bringing the sex offender bylaw back to a fall town meeting warrant. That should be done and ready for then. That's a priority for this year. Also, continuing to move toward a true DPW. I think Charlton is fast approaching, if not already past the time where we have to take a good look at that consolidation and efficiencies and having a true DPW. And I think I mentioned this during the opening statement. It's not often you hear people talk about lowering taxes or fees, but the reality is we have come through a pandemic and a lot of people have lost income. businesses and families. And I think that the town administrator pulling together the list, which I requested he do, of fees under our auspices, is something we should be addressing this year, finding ways to alleviate the burden on our residents and our businesses who've suffered through loss of income to help get them through this hard time and hopefully come out successful on the other side.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Back to Scott and Barbara, and we'll start with you, Scott, since you mentioned taxes. We have a question from a citizen that asks, what specifically would you do to avoid an escalation of real estate taxes? Are there specific actions you feel can be taken?
Well, yeah, yes. I mean, there's in the reality of running a town, any town, not just Charlton, there are costs that are associated with it, the services that the town needs. So there is one of two things that you can do. You can increase taxes or you can cut services. I mean, that's just the bottom line. However, you don't have to increase property taxes to do it. You can, again, bring in businesses. And that would be my specific answer, was to try to lure businesses, not just manufacturing and not just smaller mom and pop shops, but actual businesses onto the Route 20 corridor, into different places that we have in town that are zoned for it, and bring that revenue into town and normally to do that. If you don't do that, then you have no other options. You have to either cut services or you have to raise taxes, and certainly don't want to do either one of those.
All right, thank you. Barbara, what specific things would you do to avoid an escalation of real estate taxes?
Escalation of the real estate taxes. I agree with Scott. I'm all about bringing the businesses to the town. The progress is inevitable. It's coming. We own a 44 square feet of the land. The progress is coming. The people are coming. The businesses should be coming. The right businesses in the right places, zoned properly and placed properly within the town. But what I would like to see, and I think that would be helpful in keeping those taxes down, is to actually bringing the people who wants to live in this town. There's 140 acres of the land that, out there that Blair bought several years ago. He's planning on building, providing the land is right for it. I want to see the people coming into this town. I want to retain, the acreages. I want to retain the privacies of the people's homes, but I do want to see newcomers. I want to see more people coming to this town, bringing the revenue, paying their taxes, adding to the taxes, and bringing the businesses and helping our businesses that are already in the town to prosper better. I do think also that after COVID, that will take quite a bit for all of us to kind of get to the point when we want to spend the money. That's another thing. With that said, let's take care of the things that are on the table to make those people want to come to this town. Let's take care of the water contamination. Let's have this town have their own water, have the people not worry about paying, to Southbridge, have those people taking the advantage of the 15,000 worth of the tie-in for the pipelines. Make sure we let those people know that they should be coming. This is a safe town to live, and we are here to help them prosper, in any direction. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Singer, I'm not going to let you off the hook on this one, because it's real estate taxes. So,
right. Thank you, Noreen.
What are the specific things you think can be done to avoid an escalation of real estate taxes?
Yeah, so as much as I also want to see more new businesses come to town, there's a lot that goes into that, including computer models, water, traffic flow. So the board, I think, working with the EDC to try and enable and empower the EDC, I think is a critical component of that. Also making sure that the reality is we only have so much money, right? We can't print more. So what the town can do with what it has is look for more ways of being more efficient, ways to consolidate, to be more, to better manage, or to continue to better manage the taxpayers' monies to provide the services that we currently provide without having to see increases. Also, for those who are already here and who are dealing with property taxes, I think it's important that we maintain the current tax work-off programs we have and look for other opportunities as well I go back to alleviating the burden, but there are programs in place and other programs we might be able to implement to also give people other ways of helping to pay those real estate taxes.
All right, thank you very much. With this vision and notion of bringing people to town, bringing development to town comes traffic. And we did receive a question from a citizen in the town who asks, traffic safety is a growing concern in Charlton. What is your perspective on this issue? And if you are elected to the Board of Selectmen, what will you do about it? And so we're going to start this question with Barbara.
I would say that street improvements are crucial to that. You know, we can help with the traffic if we need so much work on the streets. We need to improve those. I do think that we might potentially think about having it again, the committee to oversee, you know, the traffic flows and everything that goes throughout with it. Those are the two things that I can think of.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Scott?
Thank you, Noreen. I agree with the citizen. The traffic is a problem in the town, and it was such an issue. I went and spoke with our new police chief, Chief Dowd, for 10 minutes. It was very kind to give me a few minutes of his time. And I asked him, because if I have a leaky faucet, I don't call an electrician. So I want to go to the person that sees it and hears about the complaints, and that is Chief Dowd and his police force. And what I got out of him was, it's amazing that no matter where you live, that is where the worst traffic is in town. which if you think everybody has a corner or a spot, but the reality is there are a few very tough spots in town that need to be looked at a little more closely and somehow to regulate it. And as according to Chief Dowd, you know, there are ways to do this. A second traffic officer is what he would love to have. An officer that essentially pays for itself when it comes to, at the end of the day, on the profit and loss sheet, from the fines and everything that he writes versus his salary, it's pretty much a wash. So there is something that I think would help them use all the equipment, excuse me, that they already have for traffic. But with only one officer, it's almost impossible to make all that happen. So there is some work to be done there, but I certainly think that we have the right man in the job to help us with that.
All right, thank you, Scott. And David, as an incumbent member of the board, what are you actively doing about our traffic situation? And what do you plan to do in the future?
Thank you, Noreen. I think it really is as the board, and actually thanks go to Selectman Borowski on that. So we have had the traffic commission, a lot of work had been done. I'm not a traffic expert, and as such, I rely on the experts from MassDOT and the police department to get the answers that I need in order to try and represent the people of Charlton. We have implemented all the solutions that they recommended. Is it a be-all, end-all, fix-all? Probably not. We're a growing town. Traffic is going to continue to increase. It's got affected by seasonality and other issues. So the reality is, what can we do? Can we get a second traffic enforcement officer? That may be an option. Selectman Borowski has looked into and is continuing to look into more grant options and trying to get other departments from the state to give us a second look, to get more eyes on it. It's an ongoing issue. And unfortunately, the reality is we're going to have to continue to adapt as the traffic in town increases.
All right, thank you all. I have a two-part question, and we'll start with you, Scott. What do you think was one of the greatest accomplishments of the Board of Selectmen during the past year? And what's one decision that you disagreed with that you think you would have handled differently, and why?
Sure. I will tell you this is very hard for me to pick one, so I'm going to mention a couple that I thought they did a great job with. During a pandemic, with the uncertainty of everything that we were facing, I think they did a remarkable job with keeping the cost of the town down, and not adding people necessarily, making sure every contract was looked at. The idea of, we added the hiring of Chief Dowd for the police. The police chief was a great hire. The contracts for the police chief and the fire chief, just overall, a really, really nice job keeping the cost and the budgets in place without taking too many risks during a really tough year. And I'm going to steal Board of the candidate Board of Selectmen Pete Lancett's answer for the. I'm not going to money quarterback either. I was not in those rooms. I was just a spectator for the Board of Selectmen meetings. I wasn't privy to all the information that they were. I didn't have the meetings to set the meetings with these people, so I'm not going to sit there and tell them I didn't like one of their decisions. I didn't agree with every one of them, but nothing stands out as something that was just gasping. So you know, without being at that spot, it's almost impossible for me to say that.
Okay, all right, thank you, Scott. And Barbara? What do you feel is one of the greatest accomplishments and something you would have done differently or that you disagree with?
Like Scott said, the board had been terrific, and I have watched so many of the past board meetings. Wonderful people. Everybody has a different thing to bring to the table. I like the balance, you know, between the men and the women, and all of that is working just great. Keeping the costs down. Above it all, the public now is informed. I like that everything, you know, that everyone is trying to get the residents involved in the decision-making process. I love that. And I thought about that question as well as I did of all the other questions. And when I look back and everything that town had experienced with the lawsuits and, you know, the problems with the open meetings, the transparency and all that, I'm gonna bring it up and I'm gonna say it with the full respect that this board had worked so hard together as a team with the integrity, respect, and above it all, the transparency to rebuild that trust of the people of this town. And every single meeting, I can feel that trust, and everything that is posted online, you know, that is communicated through all different sources, people are yet again regain that trust. And for me, this is crucial. I'm new to this town, you know, I'm a fresh-minded. I want to learn from the mistakes and accomplishments of this board, and I can't tell you how important the respect and the honesty is for me. So kudos to the board for rebuilding the trust throughout this town and bringing the residents yet again to be a part of the process, you know, to make them educated. So when it comes to the voting of any issue, they will make the educated choice and they will know that they're supported by everybody on that board. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And David.
Thanks, Noreen. As far as achievements, I'm going to go with COVID. So, you know, everything that happens in town, first off, nothing happens in a vacuum and nothing is achieved by one person. Everything is achieved by boards, multiple boards, groups of people working together. And COVID is a perfect example. The Board of Selectmen worked hand in hand with the Board of Health throughout the year to the very beginning, back to the very beginning of COVID. They handled their end of it, and the Selectmen's office with Town Administrator Andrew Golis implemented policies and procedures to make sure that town government continued to function. Residents had access to whatever they needed. Employees had access and were able to do their jobs, and everyone was able to do so safely. So I think that the town's response to COVID from not only the Board of Health, but from the Board of Selectmen's offices would be a great achievement for the year.
Great, thank you. And I'm sure Karen and Bill are chomping at the bit to answer that question too about all the wonderful things that were done this past year. So we have one final question for candidates from the Board of Selectmen, and then we're going to close out this segment, give you a minute to get a glass of water, and we're going to do our final closing statements for the contested races. So this last question came in from a local citizen who noted that Mr. Neary, you spoke to the culture environment in the town. Specifically, let me get to the correct language. The character of Charlton's town. And the question is, what is your vision of development that fits Charlton's character the way you see it?
It's a great question. I think it's a lot of it, what I alluded to a little earlier when speaking of the taxes, is providing some services that used to be here that aren't here. If we're going to talk businesses, like when I got here, I couldn't believe there wasn't a little hardware store somewhere. And all I heard was, well, there used to be right up here. And then, well, what about like a little place where you can get groceries? Well, that used to be here, it's not there anymore. And on and on and on. And I think when people think of a hardware store, they think of Home Depot, and I think of True Value or Ace. Okay, and places that businesses that I kind of grew up with in my little small town that can add to the services that we have here, and the business taxes and the just the overall way of life for Charlton, without putting in a 2-story building, without putting in a warehouse, without putting in something that's an eyesore to the town. It's a beautiful town. It's obviously large in square footage. But it's missing things. It's missing a place for. It's missing restaurants where everybody's going to Oxford, or everybody's going to Sturbridge, or everybody's going to Auburn for that. It's missing hardware stores. It's missing grocery stores. It's missing things that we can add to the town without changing the general look and feel of the town. And I think that's important. Very important.
Okay, thank you, Scott. And Barbara, what is your vision of development that fits Charlton's character as you see it?
My vision, and this is based on some of the research that I have done, is that in next 7 to 10 years, I see this town at least doubling its population. We have a central location, wonderful location, proximity to the highway was never a question. We have the stadium being built in Worcester, where the people are already, exceeding the units to reside in. So they will naturally move towards the most appealing towns, and the towns with the, the land to be built on. And we are right between the Sturbridge, which is a great town, and then in Worcester, we do have the train tracks, the infrastructure, potentially somewhere in the future, maybe not when I'm around, but somewhere in the future, to connect the town to the cities, to Worcester, to Boston even. This town will be becoming, next uptown, next Westboro or whatever, but it is a great town. And I think that the most important thing right now is to realize that you just can't stop the progress. This is coming. And what is important is to put the right people in the right places that are supervising this progress. And with the best interests of people of this town in mind. We do want to retain, the sleeping town, agriculture and all of that, but we need to be realistic. We have so much land that can be developed, with the right people in the right places. And I think that that's what I see. I see this town prosperous, happy, safe, healthy, hopefully. I want my children to have access to what I never had an access to. I want them to be able to go out there and enjoy life. And I want the same for all of us.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. And David, your vision for development in the town of Charlton that fits within the character as you see it.
Yeah, thank you, Noreen. So Charlton, and I'm sure everyone here would agree, is the best town in the Commonwealth. But we are a large town with a small town feel, but we are growing. And I think the two words that fit for me are smart growth. So looking forward, knowing that we are growing, we're going to see businesses come, we're going to see new families move into town. I think we have to go into this with smart growth in mind. And that means, what kinds of businesses do we want to attract? When we attract the right kind of businesses, where do we want these businesses to go? I look at Route 20, I see that the 20 corridor is the perfect place to build up businesses and a commercial tax base for Charlton while maintaining the country charm of the neighborhoods off 20. And I think that smart growth is the way to ensure Charlton's future, that we get the commercial base we want while maintaining the charming nature of all of our communities and neighborhoods.
Thank you, David. Now we're going to switch over to closing statements in the contested races only. And so we'll start in this, or we'll proceed in this order. Cedric Flower will start us off first, then Kathleen Walker, Peter Lancette, Scott Neary, and Barbara Zarowski. And so this is a 2-minute closing statement. Karen Spiewak has got her finger on the bell. So Cedric, if you'd start us off, that'd be great.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Noreen. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Karen. This has been very enlightening. The Charlton Housing Authority is a very special place, allowing our seniors to live in comfort and affordability. As a tenant on our board, it has been a duty and a privilege to represent the tenants' needs and wishes on the board. I would be honored to be re-elected to the Charlton Housing Authority. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cedric. All right, next, closing statement from our Board of Health race, Kathleen Walker.
Unmute. Thank you, Noreen, Bill, and Karen. I very much want to complete the initiatives I've started this year and since I've been on the board, including ensuring that the vaping prohibition does not return, continuing with the hazardous waste voucher system, the remediation of the contamination in the north part of town, and setting up an ambassador plan as outlined by the state so that we can educate and inform our residents about the benefits of vaccination. The Board of Health has done a great job this year under extremely challenging conditions, and I'm very proud of all that's been accomplished. None of the work that I started could have gotten as far as it has without the help of my 2 fellow board members, Matt Gardner and John Sanborn, who have worked hard and stayed on top of everything this year. I cannot ignore the outstanding effort that was put in by our incredible staff. Andrea Jasimczyk, Kim Buccini, and last but not least, Jim Philbrook, our esteemed health director. I get compliments all the time from people who are helped by our office. And it's because of these 3 great people who have worked overtime and on weekends to make sure everyone gets helped. And the best part of it is they do it with kindness and sincerity. We are blessed to have them in our employ. So I would ask the citizens to please vote for me on May 1st so that I can continue serving this town. And believe me, it is my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. And Peter?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thank you to the board members. Thank you to the citizens of Charlton for listening to these testimonials. The Board of Health performs many important and crucial duties related to the protection of the public health. While COVID has been at the forefront, there is many more challenges that face us from existing issues and issues as Charlton grows. You know, I feel my experience and my education has prepared me to serve Charlton in a manner that I can apply, you know, scientific process to looking at these problems and looking at our growth. As Scott mentioned, we will be bringing and looking to attract businesses. So we need to do that in a responsible manner that we do not affect the health of our citizens or environment. So in all, I look forward to promoting a healthy community for our citizens. I look forward to preserving our environment. I hope for your vote, and thank you.
Thank you, Peter. All right, and finally, our closing statements from our 2 candidates for Board of Selectmen. We'll start with Scott Neary.
Thank you very much, Noreen. Noreen, Bill, Karen, and Andrew, thank you very much for handling this night. It's such a professional and doing it so well. It's not an easy thing to do, and we have juggling so many balls in the air. I can understand. I know one of the things that I think if everybody who knows me in this town and who knows me over the past 53 years of my life will tell you is one of the things that I share is I'm involved wherever I go, whatever I'm doing. work, play, and home, I'm involved. And that is something that I think I have done and shown here since my time in the last 5 years here in Charlton. And when I'm preparing my closing for the candidates night, hopefully as your next selectman, I want to just take a minute and just address one of the most important roles, in my opinion, of the Board of Selectmen, which is making sound financial decisions for the town. Currently, Charlton has several, as we've discussed tonight, several important decisions facing us in the next few years. And behind every single one of those is a financial decision that will need to be considered, weighed, and decided upon. While the town certainly does deserve strong, experienced, transparent, local, loyal government, it certainly needs a selectman with a fiscally responsible background. In addition to strength, experience, and transparency, and my loyalty, my leadership also provides a financial reliability the town not only needs, but deserves. Whenever an opportunity or project decision is brought before this town and the board, the first question from the residents are always, how much will it cost? How will it affect my taxes? We heard it here tonight. The ability to understand this extremely important duty as a selectman is of paramount importance. I can provide financial experience and integrity, both personally and in business, and most certainly as your next selectman, I will try to do that for the town of Charlton. Thank you very much, and I hope to have your support on May 1st.
Thank you, Scott. And Barbara Zarowski.
In my closing statement, I want to thank everyone very much for organizing this event tonight, especially Madam Moderator. Thank you, Noreen. Thank you, Bill. Andrew, thank you very much. I want to thank Board of Selectmen. I have a lot to learn, especially Karen Spiewak, stepping down for all your hard work, your vested time in this town. All is truly appreciated. I appreciate you all. I want to thank every volunteer, every board member, every town worker, and every voter, and every town resident for making town of Charlton such a beautiful place. We are the team, and nobody can do the job on their own. I want you, the voter, to think of me as the caretaker. I am the wife and the mother. I want you to think of me as a public servant, which I am. I'm educated, strong woman with experience and dedication on, town boards and volunteer organizations. I am a team player, and I'm ready to work hard for this town prosperity and the well-being on its residents. I ask kindly for your vote on May 1st. Vote for me. Good luck to us all. Thank you very, very much. And I promise not to disappoint you.
Thank you very much. This is truly an honor to be with you all tonight and to be able to moderate this event. It's why I get teary when they play the national anthem. This is really what makes our democracy work, is people being willing to step in, get involved, participate in government, run for office, even though it's uncomfortable, and put yourself out there to be considered by others, by your neighbors and your friends. And so I just want to appreciate all the time and effort and personal risk it takes to step forward and to participate like this. And our country can't do it without you. And I know it sounds like I'm overstating, but it's really true. As Tip O'Neill once said, all politics is local, all government is local, all democracy is local, and it all starts here. So I'm truly grateful to you all. And I also want to acknowledge some people who were not on the call tonight, but are working behind the scenes to make sure that our election runs smoothly, as it always has. And I want to thank Karen LaCroix and Eric Tully, the town clerk and the assistant town clerk, who handle our elections and do it so beautifully. I want to thank Andrew Golas for supporting this event and for keeping our town humming. And a big thank you to Bill Borowski and Karen Spiewak, our two select persons who have volunteered to support this event tonight. And I want to thank the voters for tuning in, for listening to what you all had to offer this evening. I'm very impressed by the qualifications that our candidates bring to the table. We are very lucky, and I have great confidence in the future of this town with all of you involved. For those who are running in contested races, someone has to win, and someone has to win the next time. So don't give up, don't walk away, don't stop trying, don't stop volunteering, don't stop running for office. I fully expect to see all of your names over and over again on the ballot, and very much appreciate your willingness to be involved and included. I'd like to offer Karen and Bill a chance to just close out the evening with a brief comment. Karen, you've got 10 seconds, or you're shutting me down.
Thank you, Noreen. I'll be very brief. I just, like you said, I want to echo what you said, basically. To everyone who's running, thank you. We really appreciate you. I want to remind the voters of this town, when you look at our org chart, guess who's on the top? You are. Okay, so remember that. And most importantly, Noreen and Bill and Andrew, everyone who helped pull this event together, thank you. But it isn't easy putting yourselves out there, candidates. So kudos to all of you, and the best of luck.
Excellent. I mean, God knows I've never met a microphone I don't like, but that being said, again, Karen, I thought said it very well with Noreen. Thank you all to the candidates and everyone watching tonight. I'd be remiss if I didn't just remind everyone of Karen Spiewak deciding to move on voluntarily. Her last meeting is actually next Tuesday. She will be missed immensely. She's been an incredible member of the board and just overall member of the town. So Karen, just a shout out to you. I know this is your last official candidates night, but I just want to know how much that you'll be missed. And Noreen, you did a heck of a job. And again, don't forget May 1st, everybody, go out and vote, or talk to Karen around getting a sort of absentee ballot, et cetera. But make sure you vote. Every single one of these people are going to be impacting your lives. So have your voice be heard. So thank you very much. See everybody. Look on the Town of Charlton Facebook page for this live, that you can share it. And I'm sure all the miscellaneous Facebook pages we all have as officials probably have it as well. So share away. See you on May 1st. See you, Noreen.
Thank you so much.
Unless you want any final words.
No.
You had her 10 seconds. It's okay.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Everybody, well done.
Good night.